The first duty of government is to protect our rights.
It's our job to maintain the proper role of government in what we were tasked to do.
In the Idaho Constitution, Article 1, Section 1, we have a right to life, we have a right to defend life.
This legislation is centered on meeting the needs of Idaho families.
And we have no way to maintain control over the spending of this program, and it will be a disaster for this state long term.
But we have a whole gamut of kids whose parents would like to do something for them and they cannot.
The courts have long held that our ability to transfer title on real property benefits society as a whole.
This is simply about putting it out of reach of young, innocent, vulnerable children and making our libraries and schools a safe place for them to go.
And I am increasingly frustrated that we cannot stop ourselves from drinking at the public trough.
He's sounding the alarm. He's saying if we don't address these issues, we potentially might have greater problems moving forward.
I feel like we're back to an unappointed board that gets to decide who is essential and who is non-essential.
If I was looking at a business and I was looking at these figures, there would be heads rolling because this is unsustainable.
We're supposed to be bottom-up government. We're supposed to be representing my citizens' ideas and your citizens' ideas, and we're supposed to be discussing them and debating them to come to a conclusion.
And for me, it's about a couple things. It's about food security, it's about national security, and it's about preserving American exceptionalism.
The First Amendment and our freedom of religion, freedom of speech are our first liberties. They are so important. We don't have the rest without them.
Know how to use a handgun, Bill?
I spent a weekend at a combat ranch. You know that game with the guns that shoot red paint? Probably seems kind of stupid to you.
Well, time for the real thing, Bill. All you gotta do is pull the trigger. Come on.
33. Stockwerk. Kommt. Sofort. Put down the gun. And give me my detonators.
Well. Hans.
Put it down now.
It's pretty tricky with that accent. You gotta be on fucking TV with that accent. What do you want with the detonators, Hans? I already used all the explosives. Or did I?
I'm going to count to 3.
Yeah. Like you did with Takagi. Oops. No bullets. Fucking stupid, Hans.
Welcome to The Signal. We are live. It's February 9, 2024. I'm Matt Edwards. And boy, yesterday was an historic day in Idaho all around. Incredible. The JFAC hijack was foiled. Hans Gruber was identified. The ringleader was outed yesterday. And but the battle's not over. Make no mistake about it. The battle is not over. As we'll get into the budgets, the heroes, the zeros, and stuff a little bit later. But yesterday, the majority caucus, the Republican caucus, met in their secret chambers, and they voted to oust Representative Megan Blanksma as the majority leader of the Republican caucus. This is unprecedented in many years to do this in the middle of a term here. This was absolutely historic. There was a JFAC hijack. If you've been following this show all along here, we have been focusing on the budget process. And if you think that this wasn't important, yesterday showed you how important it was. The floor voted to retain the speaker. That was the first signal that something was happening yesterday, where the entire body voted to affirm and to retain Representative Mike Moyle as Speaker of the House. They then adjourned. The majority went into caucus and have their meetings. Brent Crane was seen leaving the floor with a ballot box, apparently, and they went in and had a vote to oust Representative Megan Blanksma as majority leader. This comes on the heels of voting on this budget process. And I'm telling you right now, we have been telling you, and I'm going to commend you in a moment here, but we have been telling you how important this budget process is. So important that Representative Megan Blanksma, the majority leader in the House, and Senator Abby Lee, the assistant majority leader, there they are, were seen and known to be the people running around trying to make sure that this budget process stops. And they weren't able to do it. And the masks have come off. And the first head to roll here was Representative Megan Blanksma, as she was stripped of her leadership position. Interestingly enough, when the Senate went to vote on their own set of budget bills in this new process, Senator Abby Lee, as we watched yesterday live, Senator Abby Lee, though she had some buzzwords that she was floating around, she ended up voting in favor of this budget process, as well as every single Republican in the Senate. And so that work will continue. Both the House and the Senate are currently in session. The House floor right now is debating House Bill 452. I don't exactly have that number in front of me at the moment, but you see Representative James Petsky there. So it's business as usual is going on. However, earlier this morning, just a few moments ago, they were debating the education budget, the maintenance for the education budget, where they were funding last year's budget for schools and an additional $260 million on top of that. So the budget for education has already been increased, but we just saw all the Democrats and 3 Republicans vote against funding our schools. So is that the headline? Democrats vote to defund education in Idaho? I don't know. We'll let the media deal with that one, but that's exactly what happened this morning. Okay, this audience, you guys out there, I commend you. You guys were the ones making the phone calls, writing the emails. This is exactly what this show was designed to do. Get you involved, keep you informed about what's going on down there. We got ahead of this stuff early on because we were paying attention. And we got ahead of this. We were able to alert you. You contacted your representatives. You contacted your senators. You contacted leadership. You gave them their support for this new process. We had Fred Birnbaum, Vice President of IFF, come on to talk about the budget process. We played clips. We had Representative Heather Scott defending it on the House floor. We had Maria Nate come on to talk about this. We had folks, Brian Allman, come on. We've had folks from all across Idaho come on to this program and discuss this process. And it was you guys understanding it, learning it, us pounding away, who called, emailed, and helped push this forward. And so I want to commend you all for that. I suspect that the House will continue to go through session at least through the top of the hour. We do have Heather Scott hopefully going to be joining us after they adjourn. So when she is able to leave the House floor, right now they're voting on this bill, House 452. I wish I had it. I don't have that. I don't have that particular bill number in front of me, so I don't know what it is. But it looks like it's pretty unanimous. We got one person who's against this. And maybe they'll change their vote. But that's interesting. You got Representative Price, who's voting in opposition to this bill. So we'll take a look at that. That's always notable when you got one lone wolf who says I don't like this bill. So anyway, that's what's going on. We've been banging this drum for 2 weeks, and I commend you guys for doing that. So stay focused, because what is going to happen now with the budgets is that they're going to keep passing these maintenance budgets, and then the work in JFAC and the Joint Finance Appropriations Committee will continue, and they will haggle and negotiate and try to find ways to bring money in and out of the rest of these budgets. What is interesting, though, is that for years we've seen conservatives, fiscally responsible conservatives, stand up and oppose a bill and will vote against a bill because it has too much in it, because we're spending too much money, too much of the people's money on things that are not government's responsibility. And so and I'm making a general term here, we've seen that for years. Now, today was the first time I've seen people rise and say, there's not enough money. We're not spending enough money. Where's the money for this? Where's the money for that? And all of that will be debated. That is what the process should be about. It's not about an up or down vote on one budget to cover everything in a particular department. It's about funding what is needed and then funding all of the new requests and going through the new requests. Because if you're requesting more money on top of the budget, that means you're spending more taxpayer money. And we've got bills today to go through that we're going to tackle, because there's a tax bill coming down the pike that seeks to reduce your taxes and offset some stuff. So we'll get to that in a little bit later. Okay, taking a breather here. We want to catch you up on all of the things that we put off for this week. We're going to go through a bill review. I want to get you up to speed on a bunch of bills. We'll do that later in the program. But we're going to reset for just a second, and I'm going to get you. We've got some clips prepared that we had that happened this week, and so we will get to that right after we take a quick break. I know we just got on the air, but we'll take a quick break. We're going to check in on the House, check in on the Senate, and then we will be back right after this.
Surplus, which is not a surplus, it's an overcharging of the taxpayers.
There's a saying in Idaho, Esto perpetua. It is forever. But the truth is, nothing lasts forever. Not without a fight. The Gem State is ours to fight for. It is ours to win. For life and liberty. For honesty and integrity. We ride together.
Okay, yes, we indeed ride together. That was what we saw yesterday. We saw Citizens Alliance of Idaho pledge signers. We saw Idaho Freedom Caucus members. We saw folks who score high on the Idaho Freedom Foundation, the CPAC, the legislative council. I forget the name of it, but where they rate state legislators across the country. We saw all of those people, everybody who scores high on those indexes, all of our pledge signers, all of the Freedom Caucus members, folks who are adhering to the Republican platform, who aren't censured by their respective committees. We saw them join together and unite for budget reform and for transparency. That's what we saw yesterday. And it was monumental. And it just shows folks in the Main Street Caucus, the folks that love to work with Democrats, who it showed everybody in the state who's where, who's with who. And so I want you to know that that though you may feel the press and the backbenchers and the reply guys that you're in the minority, you're not. Fiscal sanity, fiscal responsibility, budget reform, transparency, these are the things that conservatives are for, and you will see that across the board when it comes to Citizens Alliance of Idaho pledge signers, people who score high on the Idaho Freedom Foundation's index, the CPAC scores, the Conservative Union scores, the legislative scores, and of course, folks who are in the Idaho Freedom Caucus. That is a huge win, and we do indeed ride together. Okay, this week, Representative Joe Alfieri, another pledge signer in good standing, This is some great news. I want to get into this because this is some feel good stuff here. Representative Joe Alfieri was in front of the House State Affairs Committee, everybody's favorite committee, and he was delivering the resolution to celebrate families in Idaho. So let's listen to this presentation from Representative Joe Alfieri.
1-2, Representative Alfieri.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and representatives. I am Representative Joe Alfieri from District 4, Coeur d'Alene, and I'm here on behalf of myself and Senator Ben Taves to introduce to you RS 3112. And this resolution would establish Traditional Family Values Month, which actually runs a little bit more than a month, beginning on Mother's Day and ending on Father's Day, recognizing the importance of the traditional family in the preservation of our state and our society. I would refer you to Article 3, Section 24 of the state constitution, which says that the first concern of all good government is the virtue and sobriety of the people and the purity of the home. This resolution would be in recognition of that and to further the values of traditional family, imposes no fiscal burden on the state, but merely recognizes how important the family is and encourages the communities to support that.
Thank you, Representative Alfieri. Are there questions for Representative Alfieri? Representative Gannon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And on page 1, lines 29 through 35, the general statements, you make the resolution makes the statement that children who live with a single parent with no cohabiting partner were five times more likely to be sexually abused. Children who lived in a step family with a married biological and non-biological parent were 8 to 9 times more likely to be sexually abused. And children who live with a single parent with a partner in home were 20 times more likely to be sexually abused. What is the source of that information?
Representative Alfieri.
Thank you, Chairman. Representative Gannon, I will be happy to go into that during the hearing phase of it, but I will tell you that that is from the United Nations data.
Representative Gannon.
It does seem kind of, well, anyway, I'll be interested to see what the source of that data is. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any further questions for Representative Alfieri? Seeing none, the RS is properly before the committee. Representative Young.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion that we introduce RS 31112, and if I may speak to that briefly.
Certainly.
I'd just like to express appreciation for Senator Taves and Representative Alfieri and the work that they have done, and appreciate them shining the spotlight on the value of the family. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Representative Gannon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I will, of course, vote to print, but I do think that this resolution is somewhat prejudicial and insulting to single parents and to those who have been divorced and remarried. I just don't, in my experience, I just haven't seen this kind of huge disparity in sexual abuse that this resolution seems to claim.
Thank you, Representative Gannon. Further comments? Representative Stinson.
I'll echo what my colleague said. In addition,
Okay, let's dip out of this. We could listen to the Democrats all day on these types of bills, but they voted to print the bill, and it is now an actual bill that will, or a resolution rather. It's a resolution that will be before the body come the next step. So again, what a wonderful idea. We had Senator Ben Taves on very early. I think he may have been on our first or second episode, but we had him on to kind of explain his resolution and what this process is. I believe the website is tradfam.org, which is to celebrate in Idaho traditional families. And so you heard Joe Alfieri there talk about how it started. It will start on Mother's Day and go throughout the month for 5 weeks, rather, and ending with a celebration of fathers on Father's Day. So this is a way to sort of, to obviously be there. Yeah, there's the website. So go to tradfam.org to find out more about this resolution. There's a petition there you can sign. And this is just a great thing to celebrate traditional family values and traditional families across Idaho. We see a lot of folks waving other flags for all sorts of other ways of life, but we know we here know that the foundation of a civil and good society is a strong family. So we commend this. Okay, let's move on here. There was another bill by Representative Elaine Price out of District 4. That's Coeur d'Alene, North Idaho, up where I am. And she was presenting a bill. We heard a little bit about this bill during an RS hearing, but this bill actually has a bill number now. And so let's hear from Elaine Price, Representative Price, on the Child Protection Act that she was presenting once again before the House State Affairs Committee.
1196. Representative Price.
Thank you, Chairman Crane and Committee. I bring before you RS 31196. It's the Online Child Safety Act. For the record, Elaine Price, I represent District 4, Coeur d'Alene. This RS may look familiar to you. I brought it previously, and this body introduced it. We just made 2 small changes. We changed the title that it's in, so it's now in Title 6. And we changed page 4, lines 12 and 13 on when the information that is used to verify age, when it can be retained or how it should be disposed of. So with that, I stand for questions.
Thank you, Representative Price. Are there questions for Representative Price? Representative Crane, 12.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Representative Price. I like what you're doing. I just have a question for clarification. I haven't been able to read through all this yet. Are we putting the burden of responsibility on the website? Is that what we are doing in this legislation?
Representative Price.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Representative. We're putting the burden on the content creator. So whoever puts out this material is responsible for the age verification.
Understood. Thank you.
Representative Young.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And maybe just to add to that, if you look at the definition of commercial entity, then that's where the legal responsibility is pointed. So
page
the definition,
2, line 24.
Pardon, is on page 2, lines 24 through 26.
Thank you, Representative Young. Representative Alfieri.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we introduce RS 31196.
Committee, we have a motion to introduce RS 31196. Is there discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Okay. And it will be done, as Chairman Crane likes to say. I apologize, I set up the clip wrong. It was a reintroduction of an RS, so now the bill is printed and it will be assigned a number, and it did get a number, and we'll get to that today. I gotta have these numbers ready, but that is the Child Protection Act, and we commend Representative Price, and I believe Senator Taves will carry it on the Senate side should it make its way through the House. this bill is so interesting because it puts the burden of this material that's found online to be accessed by children. It puts the burden on the content provider. You know, the website that is carrying this material, it will have an age verification, and it can't simply be I'm 18 and I'm going to click the thing and then you can move on. It's going to you're going to have to prove that you're of age. And we've seen this bill enacted in other states across the country. And the word is when it was enacted in Utah, that certain websites decided to just completely pull out of Utah, and they don't even provide their access to their website in Utah. And then I believe in Louisiana there's a similar bill that's causing similar things. So you know, when you think about the exposure that children have to this material, whether it be in hard copy form in your libraries perhaps, but even more graphic when it's on your phones, and such, that this is their way to get this. To get this protections in place. Okay. I think we mentioned on the program, but we didn't play the clip. Back to JFAC, back to the budgeting process. I really want to play this clip for you. This is Senator Carl Bierke. He is the vice chair on the Senate side for the Joint Finance and Appropriations Committee, JFAC. And this is where all the action has been for the past several weeks. And I wanted to highlight this moment for you because this is exactly the types of debates that should be happening when lawmakers are figuring out how to spend our money. Okay, and so this is of particular note here. You may have already seen this because Citizens Alliance posted it on some of their social media sites, but we're going to play it for you here. This is Senator Carl Bierke questioning the let me set this up. This guy's name is Hampton, and he is the director of the Public Employees Retirement. It's called PERSI, the Public Employees Retirement Services something or other, right? But they handle all of the retirement benefits and the retirement program for public employees. So that's who's up at the podium, and Senator Bierke has a few questions about the money that they're requesting. So let's roll that clip.
Mr. Chairman, yes, and congratulations, Mr. Hampton, on your new position. There's been a lot of talk about maintenance budgets, base budgets, and different items that could be in one part of those two budgets. Replacement items is kind of one of those things. I'm looking at the replacement items here. Is this the typical amount you would say year to year that you'd be spending as replacement items? And I see $6,000 for a printer. Just curious what kind of printer I can get for $6,000.
Go ahead, Director.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Bierke. That is actually a very standard amount for us year to year. It is our cycled, primarily our IT upgrades, our servers, any of our equipment. We have a replacement schedule for each one of those on a 5-year cycle. This is pretty standard for us as we go through there. And then the $6,000 printers, we have one really nice printer that goes through that cycle as well.
The chuckle from bureaucrats. We have a really nice $6,000 printer that we need a new one now. We need a new $6,000 printer. I tell you what, man, if I'm buying a printer for $6,000, it better last 20 years, right? I mean, you hear the term. They don't make them like they used to. If they're making a $6,000 printer that needs to be replaced within a few years, I'm sorry. That thing needs to last a long time. And perhaps this printer was made 20 years ago. We'll have to do a printer investigation on this. But I can't imagine. That they've been dealing with a printer that's a $6,000 print. This is just unbelievable. But I want to show you where Senator Bierke found this because we found it, and it's very easy to do. If you want to dive into this stuff, if you're somebody that wants to look into the waste and the fraud and the outlandish requests that are coming on, you can go onto the legislative website and poke around a little bit. And you will find under the Joint Finance Appropriations Committee, you'll find all of this information, and you just got to poke around and look for it. So this we know what the department was. So let's show the request, and we've highlighted some elements on this PDF form. And so once you guys find it, we'll put it up. It was under the clip that we sent of the clip we just saw. Underneath was a PDF for that, so you can look for that. It was the request was for all of these replacement items, and then in literally written out there it said, and $6,000 for a new printer. And so you can see that stuff and then question and make questions about it. So I commend Senator. I guess we don't have the PDF. That's okay. We can. Oh, there it is. Yeah, that's it right there. So let me get my glasses here. So you can see we've highlighted the bottom there, and they requested $282,600 in one-time capital outlay for the following replacement items. They need $179,500 for servers and network switches, $33,000 for service routers, $48,000 for computers, monitors, and laptops. These are replacement items. These aren't new. These are replacement items, right? $15,000 for a conference room equipment, and $6,000 for a printer. This isn't like we're getting $6,000 and getting 60 printers, one for each cubicle, right? Of the total amount, the Retirement Administration requests $263,700 for their fund here and administration fund. Anyway, this is just part of the of their requests, and they lay it all out there. Now, it's not necessarily line items. I'd like to know where they're getting the printers. I mean, it's it's pretty wild how that works. Okay. Just some fun there. And we thank Senator Carl Bierke, another good standing pledge signer, vice chair of JFAC, for raising the hard questions. Okay, it is just past 2 minutes past the top of the hour. The House did adjourn for the day. They will be back in session on February 12 at 9 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Mountain. They will be back. And that is what we'll be watching that too, because they will have probably most likely elected a new majority leader. And we have no idea who it's going to be. Currently, Sage Dixon, the Representative Sage Dixon out of Legislative District 1 in North Idaho is the assistant majority leader. And so perhaps he becomes majority leader, or the caucus elects a new majority leader. I doubt we're going to see somebody from the sort of Main Street caucus wing, but you never know. You never know how the votes are going to go. So we'll keep tabs on that. Okay, we're now coming up 3 minutes past the hour, and we expect, hopefully, Representative Scott doesn't get caught up elsewhere, and that she'll be on the show to go over some of the news that she's been breaking, as well as get her reaction on what's going on. So we will take a quick break. We will come back. We've got some other clips, and we've got some bill reviews lined up to get through. So stick around. We'll be right back.
It's our job to maintain the proper role of government and what we were tasked to do.
All Idaho lawmakers swear an oath to support the Idaho and U.S. constitutions. But how's that working out for you? Because not all Idaho lawmakers share the same values. That's where the Citizens Alliance of Idaho Pledge comes in. 10 statements inspired by those two founding documents that are designed to preserve our shared values. Values such as education freedom, safeguarding free speech, defending our protected right to self-defense, and being responsible stewards of taxpayer dollars. When a lawmaker signs the pledge, they are performing an act of political courage, accepting the challenge to be a champion for our values, and serving with political integrity. To find out if your lawmaker signed the pledge, visit idahopledge.com. Paid for by Citizens Alliance of Idaho. We ride together.
Yeah, please be sure to head over to standings.citizensallianceidaho.org. Put in your address, find out who your representatives are, find out who your senator is, and see if they're in good standing with the pledge. You'll see if they've signed the pledge and where they are when it comes to standings with the pledge. We've been tracking pledge signers for the past 2 sessions now. Has it been 2 sessions? Yeah, 2 sessions, 22 and 23. We'll be tracking them. We're tracking them this year. And by the end of the session, we will have upgraded where people stand. But right now, the pledge signers are listed there. You can find out if they are in good standing or not. Oh, look at this. Look at these guys are awesome. We got the website here. So yeah, find your legislator, input your address, hit submit. It'll resort the page. But if you just want to scroll through, district by district, it obviously starts from District 1 and goes down to 35. And you can see here, green means they're in good standing with the pledge. Red means they're in bad standing. And so, yeah, cycle through this and figure out. You can even click on my representative, Jordan Redmond there. If you click on District 3, you just had him. If you click on there, you can go to their individual page. You'll see their email, you'll see their social media handles. You even get a map of the district to figure out exactly where the district lays, and whether or not they're in good standing. So we're going to have Representative Jordan Redmond on soon. He's had quite a few bills. We're going to raise them up today, but we'll get to that as well. Okay. So today the House was back in session, and they just adjourned. And I believe we have Heather Scott available here. So let's make sure there she is. Hey, Heather, how are you? Representative Scott is joining us. She just came off the floor. It has been quite a week, Heather, quite a week. Your week started off on an airplane making news. Glenn Beck tweeted about it. We then moved into cannibalism, and then we got we had to vote for you had to vote to retain your speaker, and then apparently your majority leader has now been voted away. So I don't know where you want to start. We got all these bills, the budget process, but how are you, Heather? What's going on?
I'm great. You skipped a big gap where we sat in caucus hours upon hours trying to figure things out behind the closed doors.
Yes, that was.
We were in there 6 hours or something total for the week.
And is that the most that you've had? Is that the most that you've met in one session like this?
Oh yeah. There's been a lot of controversy, as you know, over these budget bills. What happened this week is monumental. I don't know that most citizens realize what happened, but I've heard lobbyists say they've been here 20 some years and they have never seen such success as this week. So although the media wants to distract you with all the other, drama or red meat, what really happened here is a switch and a movement towards more transparency in government. And what's been happening here ever since I've been here is it's impossible to kill a budget. It's impossible to look into a budget, to pull the line items out of a budget. And it's impossible to remove anything without killing an entire budget. And what the process has allowed is unbelievable growth throughout the last, since I've been here, I'll just say for the last 10 years, just unbelievable growth. And what happens is each year, the money that was spent, they try to put that back into the base budget and just increase from there. Well, as you know, when COVID happened, there was a ton of, I think it was ARPA money and all this federal money that came into our state. And now a lot of these agencies have built up programs or stuff around this money, and they want that to be part of their base budget now. Now this federal government spigot's going to turn off, and the state's going to have to pay for that. And thank goodness we have good people, a few good people in JFAC that have been on top of this and stood up against all odds, against all of leadership, against, I'm sorry, I don't mean leadership, because we have had support from our leadership, but the executive branch doesn't want this. And we even had bureaucrats that just do not want the transparency. And it's going to happen this year. It is setting the stage on how we're going to do budgets in the future, how we're going to be able to look at these line items and actually say, is this government growth? If it is, do we want to grow government in this way? And that's never been able to happen before.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, you've been there 10 years, and to hear from you the impact that it's having, throughout the state house there, and the lobbyists and the folks that have been long time in government, it just shows the importance of elections. Last 22's election that brought in so many freshmen into the state house, and it also brought not necessarily freshmen who were new to the state house, but freshman leadership, right? Like we had Speaker Moyle's first year was last session. Yeah. You had a lot of people getting new chairmanships, and so you really saw folks who had been around there for a while, who've been wanting to try change, get into these positions where they can enact change. And that's why these elections have major consequences. And this was a huge movement that is happening to push back on this government expansion of government and overreach. So I commend you guys, especially you, Heather, for sticking it out for so long, because you have been one that has been railing against the process. A lot of the bills that come through that you bring are about transparency, about adjusting the process. How much do you look at this as and look, we told people that this is so important because look at what happened. You guys affirmed Speaker Moyle yesterday, and you're going to change leadership with the majority leader position. This was important.
This was monumental. Like I said, most people don't get what happened. I've been pretty discouraged over the past 10 years on the direction Idaho government has taken. This has given me some hope. Tons of confidence in our speaker, Mike Moyle. I talked highly of him last year. Making little changes in our process can make all the difference. Last year, he started out the year and said, hey, when we tell government to do something and they don't do it, I want to see penalties for that. He also said, hey, when you write a bill, be specific and do not allow the executive agency to write administrative rules. We want shall not propagate rules. We want to be very clear in what we want the executive branch, how we want them to implement this. And so this was a huge step. He's been around a long time, and it goes to show you can be around a long time and still do the right thing for the citizens. And that's what I saw him standing up for the citizens, sticking up for his chairman, Wendy Horman, Representative Horman, took the lead in the House. Senator Groh took the lead in the Senate. Both of these people had immense amount of pressure put on them. It was so encouraging to see them not cave to the pressure from the outside, the pressure from the executive branch, and the pressure from other legislators. It was very revealing too. The legislators, the Republicans that are willing to team with the Democrats to continue to grow the size of government in our state. And so that was a big eye opener to many. They basically exposed themselves. And so they tried to fight this process. They tried to stop this process. And that was revealed. I think I put a tweet out there earlier on who they were and what they're doing. They were teaming with the Democrats to undermine this new transparency process. And after we stood firm, we made a statement. And if you noticed, we did remove our majority leader. And that there's a lot to that, a lot that we can't talk about. But I will say one thing. The majority leader of the Republicans teamed with the Democrats to undermine this process. Their name was voted. They voted against that first budget bill, which was going to tell all. That caused a downspin in who is willing to undermine this process and join with the Democrats. And so that played a role in my decision on how we would move forward with leadership and who was doing a good job in leadership. And it gave me a ton of faith in our speaker and the direction he's sending the Republicans in this state. And it's for smaller government, more transparency. It's all the things that should be no-brainers to Republicans in our Republican platform. And so it was a good week. It was a good week for liberty, it was a good week for the people.
Yeah. And it sounds like, and you don't have to tip your hat or anything in this matter, I'm just going to lay it out there. It sounds like within the Republican caucus, you had a majority leader who was with sort of the minority of the Republican caucus, and so maybe now you guys will decide on somebody who represents more of the majority, because what we saw was folks who, and we've been saying it all week here, folks who have signed our Citizens Alliance pledge and who are in good standing, folks who are in the Freedom Caucus that you co-chair, folks who score high on the indexes of the Idaho Freedom Foundation, the CPAC, the Legislative Council. These are all folks who are tracking conservatism, tracking fiscal responsibility, folks who want to cut back spending. All of those folks, they got together, and you guys were united for conservative values. And we just saw the folks who weren't side with Democrats. And that is exactly, and we even saw some of that today during your vote on the budget for education. We saw all the Democrats, and the headline, Democrats vote against education funding. And there were a few Republicans that did too. Yeah. But very, very, very powerful stuff that this week, Heather. And thank you so much for laying this out. What should we expect next? What, because I also want to commend the audience for making phone calls and emails and backing you guys. I mean, did that have an effect?
That was huge, because I didn't see any emails that said, hey, we want less transparency. Hey, we want to spend more money for government. All the emails it was very clear where people stood, and it made a huge difference. It helped us in our testimony to say, there's no one that's not in favor, that I've heard from, that's not in favor for this new system, except the Democrats and maybe people with other agendas. So it was really good. And so what's next? Monday.
Oh, we just lost.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're good now. Yeah, tell me about Monday.
Oh, so I guess I'll just say we voted on 5 of the budgets now. Many of the folks that were kind of opposite stand, they stood up on the floor. They said we're gonna support the process now, the transparency process. I've talked to the Senate. They've passed, I think, 3 the last I checked, and they're a party line vote. So this is what the power of the grassroots. As for Monday, we will be back to business as usual. We'll be making up for time that we lost last week, but the fight was worth it. We'll be picking a new majority leader, one that will stay in line with the Republican principles of our platform, which are conservative principles, limited government, and keeping an eye out for the taxpayers. That's what this is all about. People are tired of high taxes and paying for nonsense, and that's what we're going to start cutting back on. And now we'll be able to do it as we line item scrutinize these budgets.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, Heather, thank you so much. You get a lot of noise coming at you, and you stay focused on the signal. That's what we're doing here. So I'm glad we got to dive into all of this today. I mean, we could sit here and talk about cannibalism or rude men on plane flights, but we're not going to do that. We'll let the backbenchers do that, and we'll have fun on X. Where can people follow you, and how can they stay in contact with you?
Let's just do X for now. It's busy. I'm down in session. That's where that's where everything's. They are not censoring like Facebook. So X is definitely where it's happening. The media, they're going to say what they want. They're going to try to distract from the wins for the citizens. And this is a win for the citizens. So go, I don't even give them the time of day. They're irrelevant because the people are not that stupid. They know. So my handle on Twitter is Rep Heather Scott at Heather Scott ID. So if you look me there at Heather Scott ID, that's the best way to find me right now. Don't call my work number. I never check it. So it's down in my office, and I don't even know if I know my password. So definitely X. X is where it's all happening right.
Okay. All right. They're jamming the signal now. They're jamming the signal. So thank you, Heather. Have a great weekend, and we'll catch up with you next week.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. All right, Representative Heather Scott, District 2, bringing us some great insight there. This was, I'm telling you, you heard it from her. You've been hearing it from us, how monumental it was to change leadership like this. We have a lot of credit for Speaker Mike Moyle and his action here. Okay, folks, I want to get to some stuff. I promised you to go through these bills. We'll do a short break. We'll get prepped for that, and we'll see if we can get through these bills in the next 9 minutes or so. We will be right back.
It's our job to maintain the proper role of government and what we were tasked to do.
There's a saying in Idaho, Esto perpetua. It is forever. But the truth is, nothing lasts forever. Not without a fight. The Gem State is ours to fight for. It is ours to win. For life and liberty. For honesty and integrity. We ride together.
Okay, folks, are we having fun yet or not? February 9, 2024. We're going to go through some of these bills here, but it's funny, when we were developing this program, we thought, could we wanted to do 2 hours a day, and we thought, I don't know if we'd have enough content to get through 2 hours a day, but boy, I think we could. We're not going to 2 hours. We're sticking with 1 hour for now. But let's get through some of these budget bills, because we did this a couple of weeks ago, and we got a good reaction from it, and people just wanted to get, and we wanted to do it again to get you up to speed. So we're going to start on the Senate side. This is Senate Bill 1289. Senate Bill 1289. We're starting off big. This is the library bill. This is the bill. It's back. It's the library bill. It's Senate Bill 1289. So this is a replacement to Senate Bill 314, that was brought by Representative Crane. And so this is a bill that he teamed up with Senator Jeff Schroeder, the big guy out of District 8. And so we will do a deeper dive into this bill later, because I want to get through all these bills. But this is the library bill. It's Senate Bill 1289. It looks like the penalty is still intact, but maybe the process of reviewing these books has been refined. So we will, like I said, we'll probably dive deeper into this. Maybe we'll have Mariana Cochran back on from Clean Books for Kids to get her reaction on this new bill. Okay, Senate Bill 1275. This bill here will give immunity to employers who allow their employees to carry or storage of firearms while they're employed. So this will give immunity to employers should they allow that on there. So that's a 2A bill that's going through. House Bill 465. This is the artificial intelligence. This will criminalize the child pornography that's created by artificial intelligence. So this is House Bill 465. We're not going to, you don't have to keep going back. I think we're just going to fly through these. If we stay on one for a while, then we can show them maybe. I don't want to give people epilepsy seizures at home. So, all right. House Bill 469. This one is the muzzleloader hunter right. So if you're a hunter who uses muzzleloaders, this will allow you to use 209 primers, pelletized powders in a muzzleloader season only. So some good protections here for hunters. That's always nice to see. House Bill 493. This is the mask mandates. Mask mandate prohibition is back. It was refined again. We had an earlier bill. It was in the 300s, but Representative Jason Gallagher is teaming up with Senator Brian Lenny, and they have addressed some of the concerns they had with the last bill, and this bill was presented before House State Affairs to prohibit mask mandates. This is basically, we talked about it. It's basically just saying that mayors and counties and whatever, they can't just go out there and tell everybody to wear a mask. It's ridiculous. So that's back. House Bill 493. Okay. House Bill 523. This is interesting. This will allow folks who are part of a healthcare sharing ministry. So maybe you don't have traditional health insurance. Maybe you are part of a health share ministry. Usually they for years it was just strictly religious affiliations, but you would donate money every month, and whoever needed healthcare expenses covered from all of that money, they would divvy it out. So that's a health share ministry. But up until this bill, you would not have been able to expense these sharing amounts. And so Representative Jordan Redmond is heading up allowing health care sharing ministry expenses to be eligible for medical savings accounts. So that's a great bill there. House Bill 522. We just had Representative Heather Scott on, but her cannibalism bill got a number. It's House Bill 522. So you can read all about that if you would like. House Bill 521. This is saying that this is going to be the largest state investment in school facilities. It's going to dedicate $125 million in ongoing sales tax revenue to the new School Modernization Facilities Fund. So your school districts are certainly, especially mine up here, is complaining about they have no money to fix the schools. And school districts all across Idaho are complaining about the same thing. So this bill seeks to raise the sales tax revenue. This isn't raising sales tax for you and me. It increases the sales tax revenue from the state sending sales tax to these funds. Currently, it's at 2.25% of the sales tax that comes in, they send to this fund. They're going to raise that a full percentage point, and put more money into the fund that will help school facilities. In addition, they will reduce our income tax from 5.8 to 5.695%. So this is a reduction in income tax. We got our income tax reduced to 5.8 last session, or maybe the session before. Actually, that was in a special session. This is lowering it again from 5.8 to 5.6. So on its surface, this is a good bill. We can repair our schools with existing funds, just moving them around and decreasing income tax. So far, this is a fairly on its surface a good bill, but we'll have analysis of it. This is Representative Mike Moyle and Jason Monks. And Senator Doug Ricks. So this is our speaker is spearheading this, and he loves to cut taxes. So we like the look of that one so far. House Bill 5, we got to get through this. House Bill 520. This makes sure that tax dollars do not go to sex change operations. So let that hang there. House Bill 517. This one, we're going to have Senator Taves on to talk about this. We're going to have Kate Hartley on as well. This bill, House Bill 517, this bill is phenomenal. This is a phenomenal bill. Currently, there is no protection, there is no recourse that one can have against the state of Idaho if someone from the government violates your individual rights. If the state violates the Constitution, there is no way. There's no recourse. There's no legal statute. There's nothing in statute that says that you can sue the government for violating your individual rights. There is in the federal, right? There is in the federal. You can sue the federal government for violating your rights, and we've seen those things go all the way up to the Supreme Court. But currently, Idaho is one of the states that does not have anything about violating your rights. And so Senator Taves, Representative Skog are bringing this bill forward. I highly encourage you to watch this bill. It's House Bill 517. I want you to keep track of it. We got a few other bills here, but those are the big ones. This is the really big one, 517. We're going to focus on that next week and have some folks on to talk about it. All right, folks, we've hit our limit. It's IdahoSignal.com is where you can support us. Please head over there and get yourself connected with us. That way, you can support the program that way. And I am truly, truly grateful for you guys being so active. This show is all about Signal. It's all about contacting your representatives and staying in the know. And it is a big win. This was a huge week. There's the website. This was a huge week for you, and you need to be happy going into the weekend. I mean, you heard it from Representative Scott. We've been saying it all week. This is a huge, huge win, and it was thanks to you guys. Thank you so much for watching the program, for sharing the program. We've been getting a lot of great feedback. Our numbers are increasing daily. It is fantastic to see the impact that we're having. Have a fantastic weekend. We will see you next week. Take care.
This bill, I think, it puts a stake in the ground that says we have a sovereign right to protect what's ours.